Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Monday, everybody. It's good to be back. I took a little bit of a break at the start of the year here to get myself rolling into a programming rhythm again after a kind of furious finish to our Kickstarter. So I hope you guys had a nice week and were able to maybe catch up on some of the content that we made. We made so much content in the month of December, so I hope you were able to maybe catch up on some of it. And yeah, eager to be back. Today we're going to be looking at Mercury's final square to Neptune, which it has gone through in direct motion and then retrograde motion, and now once again direct motion. So we're going to look at that entire timeline, reflect a little bit on the timeline and maybe some of the themes that have been a part of the entire process, while also refreshing on some of the general meanings of Mercury-Neptune combinations on an archetypal level. And so that's our agenda for today. Before we get into it, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, share your comments and reflections. We'd love to hear from you guys. And you can find a transcript of today's talk, as always, on the website, nightlightastrology.com. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the real-time clock up and take a look. You can see right here that as of today, Monday, January 8th, we're looking at Mercury. Oh, the big arrow is out. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, big arrow. All right. I'm modifying. Here we go. Mercury square to Neptune is perfecting today. If we just push this forward by one day, you'll see that by tomorrow, Tuesday, January 9th, Mercury will have passed over the square. And then you give it a couple of days after that, and to push it to about 28 degrees, which is 3 degrees off the square to Neptune, that's about Thursday. So, Monday through Thursday of this week, you'll really be feeling it, especially today, Monday, January 8th, and tomorrow, Tuesday, January 9th. Those are the big days where you'll really experience this. It's possible that you could have noticed it coming in over the weekend already. Now, the important thing to note about this is that this square has happened a few times already. So let's go back, and I want to highlight just a few things here. Excuse me, I'm having to adjust our perspective. Here we go. So I'm going to take out everything except for these three planets. Oops, somehow I left Saturn in, and we need Neptune, not Saturn. There we go. So let's go back in time and revisit this. So if we go back a little ways through before Mercury turned retrograde, here's the first time that they went through the square to one another. Now, this is coming through right around November 26th. And you could see this square perfects by right around 7 in the morning Central Time, November 27th. So the 26th, 27th was the first time that the square came through. Now, here's what's really interesting. These are both in Jupiter-ruled signs, Mercury and Neptune. And Jupiter was in Taurus at the time, and it was moving down toward 5 degrees through its retrograde, Jupiter and Taurus moving to 5 degrees of Taurus from 7, and stationing to turn direct at about 5 degrees of Taurus. And it was in the process of doing that, which it would do by the very end of the calendar year 2023, right around, I think it was December 30th, 31st. So it was right about then. So the point is that the ruler of this square, because both planets are in a Jupiter-ruled sign, was retrograde and preparing to turn direct. As a result, most of late November through December, including a Sagittarius new moon cycle that also pinged off from Neptune, Mars squaring Neptune, we really talked a lot about the Jupiter-ruled nature of these aspects, and that it reflected a kind of turning point, a change in momentum, a shift of ideas or beliefs that would come through a kind of process, a process of clarifying, reorienting, revising, maybe even implementing new beliefs, new spiritual, philosophical values, whether that's in relationships or work or money or health, a time of implementing new ideas. Now, that is, again, because we have Mercury squaring Neptune, we had Mars squaring Neptune, we had a new moon squaring Neptune, all from Sag to Pisces, both in Jupiter-ruled signs, and again, Jupiter is turning direct. So there's a point of emphasis on Jupiter changing directions. And so that was the underlying theme that we looked at a lot again through the month of December. We went forward from there, and Mercury went into Capricorn, it stationed and turned retrograde, and it did so in a trine with Jupiter. So again, more sort of more emphasis on the connection of this Mercury retrograde with Jupiter, which we went over a bunch. So there was their trine. This was around December 18th. Then the retrograde took Mercury back into the sign of Sagittarius. And through its retrograde, right around December 26th, right after Christmas, Mercury went through the square to Neptune, and it's slowing down now. So it was a little, Mercury was slowing down to station. It's already turned direct, of course, but now Mercury's retrograde square with Neptune is a little slower, which also was coinciding. The second square here, right after Christmas, like the 26th, 27th, was also coinciding with Jupiter preparing to turn direct. And this is what we talked about from the beginning, right? But here's Jupiter. If you go forward just a little bit to the 30th, then you'll notice above Jupiter, and right as Mercury was finishing its square to Neptune within that 3-degree range, 22 to 25, 22 Sag, 25 Pisces, Jupiter was stationing and turning direct. This is the key to understanding the entire cycle. It was so rooted in the shift of Jupiter. Mercury stations, turns direct right around the 2nd of January, and then goes forward. And the square that we're now coming through is happening Monday, January 8th into Tuesday. And this is happening as Jupiter is now direct, but still at that 5th degree and starting to slowly pick up speed. What is going to happen next? The next thing that will happen is that Mercury will move into Capricorn and return to the initial spot where it started its station to retrograde. And guess what it's doing? It's trining Jupiter, right? So it is trining Jupiter in Earth signs. So that's quite a process. And the most basic thing that I want to say about this is that Mercury-Neptune squares in a Jupiter-ruled sign has to do with the way that our minds are changing. It could have something to do with technology or philosophy or technique or strategy. Those would all be appropriate for Mercury as well. But it's about philosophy, technique, and strategy. It's about the details as well as the overall plan. And it's about there being a change in momentum or direction that has to do both with the level of thought, implementation, and everyday activity, as well as the larger vision of where we're going. And for some people, this may have been subtle. I mean, some people will have experienced this more profoundly than others, and a lot of that, as always, has to do with your birth chart. But you can also say, broadly speaking, that what you may have noticed is a shift or change in priorities, a shift or change in values and how you implement ideas and values into tangible actions, and maybe some point of emphasis on things that had been working, not working, and then maybe trying something different or shifting approaches and then seeing it work again. Another way of looking at it would be, again, just broadly speaking, your vision, your broad. Neptune is always connecting us to some sense of that which is bigger than us, romantic longing or spiritual, the desire for spiritual union with the divine. These are all Neptunian longings. It can be romantic, it can be spiritual, it can be imaginative. And Mercury-Neptune, again, both in Jupiter-ruled signs, suggests a kind of big picture shift of our longings, our aspirations, and our philosophical, moral, spiritual outlook. And then with the emphasis on this in earth signs, we're talking about moving from the level of what inspires us or what the vision is to the practical, worldly, embodied, formal changes that have to be made. For example, you could have a shift in approach to diet and then actually see the changes being made as you implement a new dietary plan, and then actually eat the food in the plan and maybe see your waistline reduce or something like that. I say that because obviously that's what a lot of people do it around the new year, but not that I think that people need to, just saying. It could be that you have a new business approach and you're actually implementing it. It could be that there's new values. And so many of us, when there's new values, we sort of need to do some reorganizing of the world around us, from your closet to, I don't know, your drawers, to your cupboards, to the inside of your car. I don't know. But the point is just that there's a very practical level at which this sort of larger visionary change is asking us to move into in the next couple of weeks. And that's been a part of the process since the beginning. So these are all the big picture ways of thinking about Mercury's square to Neptune. But I want to remind us, in case you forget, some of the actual archetypal combinations, aside from the process we're talking about, which really is sort of focused on the turning of Jupiter in Taurus. I want to emphasize the meaning of Mercury's square to Neptune, because the actual archetypal combination may be coming up for you today, tomorrow, maybe all the way through Thursday of this week. Maybe you already noticed it over the weekend. In other words, how does the Mercury-Neptune combination lead us to such a philosophical change, or a change of technique or practice or outlook or vision? Well, one of the ways it does so is through overwhelming thoughts, emotions, or communication dynamics. Overwhelming meaning that you can become flooded with worries or anxieties or doubts or fears, or you can feel overwhelmed by things that you're thinking or things that you're feeling, or you can get overwhelmed by things that are being communicated to you from other people or somehow from the environment. There's just a theme of mental and emotional overwhelm with Mercury and Neptune. And that overwhelm can lead us to naturally seek out clarity and cohesion and organization. And it's the overwhelm that leads us to think that something may not be working as it should, or that something needs revising in terms of a larger systemic change indicated by Jupiter. So watch for those overwhelming thoughts, feelings, emotions, communication to be a part of this shift that's happening right now. Number 2 would be inspiring and romantic ideas, thoughts, and communication. So they can be overwhelming. On the other hand, you can be flooded with a lot of very inspired thoughts and ideas, sometimes too many, or sometimes too fast, or too much, or not all of them entirely grounded, or some may overpromise and underdeliver. Nonetheless, there can be a wave of new ideas, excited thoughts, animated feelings, romantic, passionate longings, spiritual yearnings. And these can be flooding in, and they may have been doing so since late November. Here or there, you get a little flood. And those may also serve to reinvigorate, reform, revise, and shift larger systems or structures of beliefs indicated by Jupiter and Taurus. Number 3 would be a process of clarification related to beliefs and outlooks, meaning that there's something fuzzy or unclear, or it feels like you're walking through a dark forest and you have a flashlight with like a dying battery. You're like hitting the, like, come on, I got to be able to see. And you can only see a few feet in front of you because the beam isn't so strong. I need to know where I'm going. I need to calibrate. I need to see, and things have felt unclear. Or I've been trying to discern the best thing to do or the best way to implement change, and things haven't been clear. Now they are. And that can be indicated again by the process of back and forth like it's been doing. So direct motion, retrograde motion, direct motion with Neptune can be a process of starting to see. It's a funny thing. You can see clearly the confusion that maybe has been around for a while, or that you start to understand where things are needing further definition or further clarification. And so this process of sort of wading through the fog, coming out of it, going back into it, coming out of it, going back into it, that process itself is useful insofar as it is helping us refine beliefs, outlooks, and approaches to things. And it's creating a kind of shift in momentum, though it takes us into the fog and back out a few times. Now, you may have a hard time tracking these things, especially if you listen to content, but you don't ever take the time to say, like, reflect on it and journal, which, or even just jot down notes as you're experiencing things, which I think is really helpful. So if you're going like, I'm having trouble tracking all of this, because Mercury square to Neptune is part of 3 squares, again, look back at the dates that I started with and see what you can identify. We're just broadly speaking, look at where there has been confusion and doubt and worry and lack of clarity or certainty, and then where the certainty has come in and what you've learned from that process. Number 4 would be slowly building order out of chaos or confusion. It's amazing to me how, Mercury's trine to Neptune in the Earth sign, right as it was turning retrograde, is starting to present like a totally new plan, very concrete, very practical. It goes back into Sag, starts squaring Neptune, and there's this sense of like, wait, I thought that I was implementing this very structured new plan, and I feel a little confused or overwhelmed again, or I feel like, maybe you have, again, I would say like, especially in the early part of December, if you were feeling like there was a kind of a new plan presenting itself, that's not totally surprising, because the retrograde started off with an Earth trine between Mercury and Cap and Jupiter and Taurus. But now we're going to get back there. And so what I would say is that really we've been through a process of you can't take the practical steps to get where you want to go unless you've also taken time to clarify where it is that you want to go in the first place, why you want to go there, maybe the best path to get there on a sort of ideal mapping level. But we're ready to go from that kind of visioning work again into concrete work. So notice in the next week that there may be a theme of slowly building order out of chaos, confusion, or overwhelm. And that's similar to saying that there's a process of clarification. However, part of how things get clarified is they move from level of thought and idea to action. And number 5 is deception, illusion, things that hide, things that are secret, issues around boundaries, maybe even issues with gossip. So these are all classic Mercury-Neptune dynamics, just to be aware of, watch them in yourself, these, deceiving people or hiding, illusion, these are things that typically generate bad karma with Mercury-Neptune, so to speak. But also the otherworldly, the inspired, the romantic. It's an interesting time to see what comes up in dreams and meditation with Mercury-Neptune. So you may notice these things this week at any rate. We're going to leave it there for today. As I'm getting traction, creating new content, some of the videos this week may be a little on the shorter end as I just, speaking of building momentum, just kind of getting back into my groove for the new year after taking a week off to just kind of get things on track after the Kickstarter. Well, I think this week we're going to take a look at the new moon in Capricorn for sure. And there's also some other really interesting transits. Let me just see if I can't plug my chart in really quick and show them to you. So some of the things coming through this week, if you want to know where we're heading. So we have the new moon is coming through on Thursday the 11th. So we'll for sure be taking a close look at that. We're also going to be looking, one of the big transits I want to look at this week is exalted Mars, talking about the exaltation of Mars and its trine to Jupiter, which is also really fantastic transit, a very, very productive transit. So anyway, those are just a few that we'll be looking at. I think I might do a grabbed episode this week because you guys have had some great stories to share around the holidays and the transition to the new year that I want to try to capture in a storytelling episode. But anyway, lots to look forward to. It's nice to be here in 2024. And again, thanks to everyone who helped with a great Kickstarter. We had a tremendously strong finish, which we really needed. I was like, oh, wow, we were pretty far behind coming into the last week. So it turned out fantastic. And thanks to everyone. I hope you guys enjoy this Mercury square to Neptune. If you've got any stories to share, as always, you can use the hashtag grabbed and then tell us the transit, tell us your story, be succinct, or email it to us, grabbed@nightlightastrology.com. Just don't share anything that you don't mind us using in a storytelling episode. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys are having a good one and a good start to your week. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.